Good morning and welcome to today's webcast, How to Increase Your Security Posture with Azure, brought to you by Microsoft and Insight. I'm Rachel Mason, Marketing Manager at Insight, and will be your moderator today. Before we begin, I wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. This webcast is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. The webcast console you are looking at can be completely customized. You can resize or move any of the windows that you have open. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. All questions from this webcast will be captured, and there will be a Q&A during the last few minutes of the presentation. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties, please visit the webcast help guide by clicking on the question mark icon below the presentation window. The help guide covers common technical questions. I would now like to turn this presentation over to our speaker, Gabby Diedrich, Enterprise Security Executive at Microsoft. Gabby, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gabby Diedrich. I am a cybersecurity advocate here in the Midwest, serving our Great Lakes customers. I've been in IT or cyber for 20 plus years. I've been with Microsoft my last 2.5. I have to admit, as I'm sitting here speaking with probably mostly security professionals, when I was approached by Microsoft, I didn't really think of Microsoft as a security company. And I was right. We're a productivity company. But we do understand that in order to be productive, you have to be secure. So several years ago, our CEO, Satya Nadella, committed to invest $1 billion annually to security. We've built many features into our platform, which allows us to leverage the signal we have access to, with the goal of simplifying and securing your environment, regardless of where the data is living. With all that being said, thank you for the gift of your time today. We have an amazing partnership with our friends at Insight, and they are fully equipped to help you understand or design your journey to simplify and secure your environments. So with all that, please join me in welcoming Evan Roll.
Thank you, Gabby. So it's very good to speak with everyone. So we're going to go through a number of topics here today. A lot of the information that we'll cover, it may be new to some of you on the call. It may be something you've gone through internally and you have some familiarity with it. Any of these topics, we could spend a great deal of time going through in depth. But we want to cover some of the main areas of security, some of the ways that Azure can benefit your organization. So I am a security principal with the Insight security practice. So I've been in information technology for 20 plus years. I've been in information security for over 10 years. My background is really around auditing and assessing environments. So that's one aspect. So I spent a number of years as an auditor looking at and evaluating various environments from PCI, cardholder data environments, customers that need to adhere to PCI, the PCI DSS framework. I'm a former PCI QSA. I've evaluated many healthcare institutions, and that's everything from regional healthcare facilities to large hospitals to insurance companies, manufacturing companies. I've worked a lot with companies that produce products and provide services to their customers. So really the full gamut of offerings and services to businesses that are out there. So I've had a good chance to evaluate and see what different organizations are doing. Insight as a whole has the ability and has had the opportunity to evaluate a number of different types of businesses as well. So we have a good perspective. Additionally, what I've spent a lot of time doing is in testing environments. So I have a background in penetration testing, application testing, API testing, wireless environments, red teaming type exercises, that sort of thing. So you get a different perspective when you see what can be done and what attackers are trying to do on a continual basis. So it's really just a different view, but it provides additional input, information. It helps round out our team and the types of services we can offer and the way that we can help your business. So as we jump into this, the agenda that we want to go through is, just a high-level evaluation, a high-level review of the state of security in our industry. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I know we have a lot of security professionals on the call, and so you see these types of statistics day in and day out, but I do just want to touch on a couple of specifics. I do want to go through our cybersecurity reference framework to help you understand how we work with customers, how that can benefit you, how you can approach security in a more orderly fashion, how this relates to Microsoft security and what Microsoft's doing specifically. Then we want to touch on some of the really interesting, important things about Azure Security Center, how it can quickly help your organization and business take advantage of a shared responsibility matrix that Microsoft provides. If you haven't been taking advantage of that, it's really an excellent offering, a way for your organization to quickly ramp up, especially if you have limited resources. Application security is something we really want to touch on and speak to. Applications, in our experience within our security practice, are some of the most difficult things to handle from a security perspective. Making sure that those applications that are presented to the World Wide Web, to the internet, are secure. There are a lot of ways those can be presented in an insecure fashion. Azure Security Center does provide some key features that will let you take care of the easy things quickly, so you can focus on the more complicated aspects of your CI/CD pipeline. And then I do want to finish up with Azure Sentinel. So many of you have probably heard of Azure Sentinel. It is a fairly new offering that Azure has provided, or that Microsoft has provided. It's really they really have some key features and use case scenarios that benefit most organizations. Insight as a company has spent a lot of time evaluating the various solutions in the SIEM source space, and so we've settled on Azure Sentinel as a preferred platform. So I want to talk through that and what that means and what it could mean to your business. I do want to note that Insight is a strong security partner and a strong partner with, in general, with Microsoft. So we've won a number of awards. I won't go through all of these, but Microsoft, as Gabby mentioned, Microsoft has invested $1 billion a year over the past 2 or 3 years in security. Insight wants to support that effort, and so we've made a significant investment across the organization, and specifically with the security practice, to make sure that we can help support our customers and what they're doing across Azure and O365. Of note, I did want to point out that the Insight team was awarded the Azure Security Deployment Partner of the Year at RSA Conference in February of this year. We're proud of that award, and it really has a lot to do with how we're helping customers secure their environment across the E5 stack and utilizing Azure Sentinel. So just some basic statistics. Really, the types of things that we talk to customers about on a daily basis, and really the key thing that we want to focus on is really reducing complexity. So complexity really is the enemy of most organizations, specifically around security. The statistics that you see here, especially the first statistic, on average for larger companies, you could see upwards of 70 products across 35 product vendors. That may seem large to you. If you go back and do an accounting of the types of security solutions you have in your environment, you may be surprised that you either approach that number or have more than that number. But this is what we're seeing in general with businesses. They have a lot of specific solutions that address specific areas of their environment: endpoint protection, perimeter protection, cloud security solutions, whatever that is. And there's not a lot of cohesiveness. So what ends up happening is you look for best of breed. You want to find the best solution that's out there, and so you go to Gartner, you pick out the best solution, and you buy that, you implement it. What ends up happening for a lot of businesses is they may do that for a number of areas across their business. They may start off small and then begin building. Next thing you know, you have a tremendous number of solutions. It's difficult to manage. You don't have the resources to manage that. We want to help reduce that as much as possible. For our team, we would rather see you use really good solutions that work well together, rather than having the best of breed in every specific area, and it's difficult to manage. What we find is another key factor in most businesses in terms of responding to events is really the alert fatigue that you get from all of these security solutions that are out there, where they don't work well. You have resources across your organization that are constantly responding to alerts, constantly dealing with false positives, constantly dealing with minor incidents, whatever that may be. And the cost of that to the business oftentimes is not calculated. The metrics aren't there, but on average, we see over $1 million, 1.3 is spent annually in resources across these businesses trying to deal with these incidents on a continual basis. We want to reduce that. We want to reduce that not only from a cost perspective, but also from a resource fatigue perspective as well. And then to add to all of this, for our industry, we do see a shortage of qualified security professionals. Many of you, if you've tried to hire in this space, security analysts, for instance, security engineers, those two can help secure your organization. It's difficult to find qualified individuals. There's just not enough people. The industry really, and we see this internally with Insight as well, when we go out looking for qualified security professionals, it's just a difficult thing to find. So anything we can do to automate processes, anything we can do to shorten the time to response for incidents across your business, we want to help do that. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is really geared towards these main factors. So to complicate things further for security professionals, we deal with problems on a consistent basis. These problems have acronyms, and we show this to our customers to really illustrate that there are a lot of issues and there's a lot of information out there that make it difficult for us as security professionals. And we show this slide to a lot of our customers and ask them, can you name all of the acronyms that are listed on here? Most can't. Even most within our security team can't, and that's because these, the problems are constantly, they're constantly evolving. We're seeing more and more problems, more and more issues that we have to deal with, and so it's difficult even for security professionals where this is all that you do to keep up with this. To make matters worse, we have solutions, and we have all of these solutions with their own acronyms that we're expected to keep up with and understand and know, and so it really just adds to the overall effort. And so it's difficult. So we want to support you in what you're doing. We focus in this area on a daily basis. We keep up with trends. Things are changing constantly, as I said. Even at Microsoft, they do such a good job of updating, evolving, and changing their environment, such that they're adding new features and new capabilities. And so our team is constantly working to keep up with that to ensure that you're informed and ensure that we can support you in your business to take advantage of these. Overall, Insight does have a service lifecycle, and I'll just build out this slide and talk through it. So Insight has a unique capability. There are many good qualified companies that are out there that can support you in different areas. Insight can support you really across the entire service lifecycle. So we have experts in all the various disciplines, specifically in security, which we're talking about today, but all the various disciplines across migrations, assessing environments, application monetization, end user experiences, whatever that may be. But we work from the beginning of the life cycle to the end, so we can meet you wherever you are. So if you're very new in this and you need to assess your environment to determine workloads that might be a candidate for migration to the cloud, we can help with that. We have technical teams that can help implement and secure the environment. So not only assessing the environment to tell you what you can do and what you should do, but also hands-on keyboards, actually getting in there with you and helping to perform the migrations. Innovation, so if you're at a place where you feel like you're secure, you've assessed your environment, you've made the move out to Azure, for instance, and you're really at a point where you can innovate across the organization, you want to do that quicker. Our teams help you do that as well. We have teams specifically focused on that. And then ongoing management and securing the environment. So ongoing management for operational management and security management as well. So we work across the entire life cycle and have resources that can help anywhere through that. Now, I show this slide really, again, to show the difficulty that we see in security and securing, your infrastructure on-prem, cloud, multi-cloud, whatever that may be. This is a fantastic slide, and if you haven't looked through it and dug into it, I certainly encourage you to do so. This is the Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture. There's a lot in here. For some that haven't seen this before, this can be pretty scary because there is so much here, and you could spend days, weeks, months, even years in any one specific area that's represented on this slide. Insight, our security practice specifically, has made a commitment to try and work through this, work through all of this and all the complexities that your organization, your business, may have to deal with in a different way. So we try to simplify this to make it a little more manageable. So we typically start from our cybersecurity reference framework, our cloud security reference framework more specifically, and we try to meet you where you are in the specific areas. So on the left-hand side, we start with our security, with the business's security operations center. So what are your people, processes, technologies that you currently have in place? Some customers really are focused on Microsoft and really Microsoft-centric. The reality is that most customers that we deal with have a lot of disparate technologies and solutions. So we want to map that out and ensure that you have coverage across that, where you can take advantage of Microsoft solutions specifically because it makes sense based on investments you've made across the organization. We want to make those recommendations as well. So ultimately, we want to make sure that businesses we work with, the solutions that you have, that you're using them and they're working well, where you're able to benefit from additional security features, additional controls, additional visibility across an organization. We want to help enhance that and make recommendations to that end. On the right-hand side of the cybersecurity reference framework, we have the information security block. So this is really your crown jewels, what you're trying to protect across the organization. Of course, that's different for different companies, different businesses. Well, what is that? What does that look like for the organization? And then everything in between those two blocks really goes to support either side. So productivity services would be your SaaS applications, O365, anything that you use as a business that will continue to make the business productive, anything that your users need to access, to use on a daily basis to keep the business running. Identity and access management, how are you accessing those specific productivity services across the organization? It's critical to understand and have controls in place. This is really the most important part of your organization, controlling access to services, to applications, to your infrastructure, and to your data. Where are they coming from? Client endpoint management. So what specific device are they coming from? Is it a mobile device? Is it a laptop? Is it on-prem? Is it from a remote workplace? Whatever that is, we want to understand and be able to place controls on that end user device. And then what perimeter network are they coming across? So in today's world, we see that that's a little less defined. A lot of companies really can't properly define that in a way that makes sense, and so it gets confusing. So we want to help you understand that. We want to make sense of that. And then in the middle of all that is Cloud Access Security Broker. So our CASB system is something that's new to a lot of customers we work with. This is really the place where you should be defining and placing controls across all of the blocks that it's touching. So it will help you make sense. It will provide visibility and controls depending on what network you're coming across, what endpoint device you're accessing the resources from, what user account is being utilized, what productivity services are being taken advantage of, and then what information is being used on a daily basis. So this is really the way that moving forward, most companies will be able to get that visibility and those controls on information and users to make their business effective and productive. Below that, private and public cloud infrastructure. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we talk about Azure Security Center specifically. Privileged access management at the bottom left, really how are your administrators accessing the environment to maintain controls and ensure that it's a secure environment, specifically across Azure. So we won't talk a lot about that, but that's critical to your organization and business. And then cloud workload protection platform. So this we will speak to, and so the way this plays out and the way that this is kind of I think cloud workload protection platforms are Gartner term. Some refer to it as cloud security posture platform. Again, a number of acronyms that you have to deal with, but really this is how do you manage your infrastructure? How do you maintain security policies across the infrastructure? How do you maintain compliance? So we use this to map where a customer is, and as an example, we've filled this in for Azure specifically, so the security features and the way you can map that can be seen here. Where we want to focus on specifically is in Azure Security Center and spend some time talking about this and helping you understand that. Where we come in and work with customers and where this becomes more relevant is we begin to fill out these various blocks depending on the specific solution that you have in the various areas. So Azure Security Center. So what is Security Center? Are you making use of Security Center currently in your environment? There are a lot of powerful aspects to that, a lot of key parts to that that you should be taking advantage of if you're not currently taking advantage of that. The first is securing your security posture, really understanding and having visibility across your entire infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure and your on-prem infrastructure. So that's provided in a couple of different ways. The quickest and easiest way to see that is through the security score that Microsoft provides. So it provides an overall security score of your infrastructure that's tied into Azure, and that's across all the different aspects. So everything from your VMs to your containers to your app services, your databases, your SQL databases, your IoT devices, and then from there you can drill down into the specific areas and see how each area scores. It's really a quick way to evaluate how far you are from security best practice and compliance policies that you set across the organization. The second aspect of that is really setting those policies and compliance. So there are ways that you can go in, set specific, policies that are specific to the business, that make sense for the business, that align with best practice. Additionally, you have the ability to go in and set specific compliance policies as well. And there's a difference, right? So, you know, a lot of organizations believe that compliance, if we meet compliance, then we're secure. That's not always the case. And really what we find is compliance is really a first step to becoming a very secure organization. Compliance is really the basics and really the threshold, the bottom level, the threshold of where an organization should be to become truly secure and ensure that their business is not compromised. Additionally, beyond the security score and policies, the protection against threats. So there are various aspects of Azure Security Center that you can use to protect against threats across your organization. So you can do this again across your VMs and servers, your containers, your cloud native workloads. So not just your IaaS environment, but your PaaS environment as well, and then databases and your the storage aspects of your Azure environment as well. So the ultimate goal is to get you to a secure posture to protect against threats, but to do this in a manner that's quick. And so evaluating environments, as our team has over the years, coming in, seeing how different businesses do this aspect of security, it's really a difficult thing to do, right? So the types of things that you're going to be doing, keeping systems patched, keeping up with your operations, ensuring that you're that you're removing or that you're eliminating, mitigating risk from some of the simple things, the easy things across an infrastructure. It's difficult to do on an ongoing basis. A lot of organizations, and this is essentially your vulnerability management program, a lot of organizations wait till they have a penetration test, for instance, to get the information they need to go back and fix issues across their environment, or they subscribe to feeds and threads and they try to keep up with it manually. You may try to do that within your organization. We see this a lot, but it's very difficult to do. It's a process that you know, really most businesses we work with end up missing quite a bit of trying to perform that type of ongoing maintenance and management across the organization. So we want to find a better way, a faster way. Azure Security Center does provide that. So some of the key areas where it will provide that is, as I mentioned, security score. At a quick glance, you can see where you are across your environment, whether it's the app services, whether it's databases, whether it's VMs and workstations. Regulatory compliance reports. So you can define what those compliance reports actually are. So, for instance, if your organization needs to adhere to PCI DSS, there are specific controls that should be put in place across your Azure environment. Now, this won't mean that you're it compliant, but it will mean that the aspects of Azure that deal with your compliance can be met. So controls related to how you access systems, to hardening of systems, to ensuring that your VMs and your servers are up to date, to ensuring that you have visibility and that you're logging information from those systems, to ensuring that you've limited services and open ports on systems across your environment. So there are a lot of key areas that will allow you to achieve compliance. And these are really difficult areas to do if you're trying to do this manually, from system to system, from group to group. It's difficult to do. So what Azure Security Center does is it allows you to do this quickly in a visual way. You can see what systems are out of compliance, what percentage you have left. You can oftentimes make quick fixes. So Azure Security Center does provide the ability to go in and perform a quick fix, and will automatically make the change for you once you've had a chance to review what the specific situation is. So there are a lot of great features for that. Additionally, protecting your workloads from threats. So there are some key things that we want to call out that Security Center provides. Visualization through a network map. So at a quick glance, you can see your VMs and your systems spread out across your environment. Adaptive application controls for your servers and workstations, ensuring that you have controls such that applications can only run when they've been approved, when they've been whitelisted. Just-in-time VM access to ensure that systems across your network aren't exposed to the internet, that access to those systems, whether internally or externally, are provided and managed, and once the time runs out, you can't access them again. So we've all seen reports and we've seen news articles about organizations being compromised because they've left systems exposed. They've left S3 buckets exposed, for instance, misconfigurations, whatever that is, because you've gone in and you performed testing, you're trying to get things connected. This happens all the time. So these controls are really necessary and needed. Other specific controls that you can take advantage of: file integrity monitoring to ensure that systems within your Azure environment are being monitored internally. So registry settings, for instance, critical files. For Linux systems, you have the ability to monitor files that shouldn't change on a regular basis, such as files in your etc folder, for instance. Adaptive network hardening, so ensuring that devices that you deployed within your environment do adhere to your security policies that you've set, such as they're hardened right out of the bat. Microsoft Azure Security Center does provide specific frameworks that you can build upon. So some of the frameworks that are natively available are the CIS benchmark, Center for Internet Security. We would always recommend that you start there. They're excellent benchmarks to begin the hardening process, but once you have those policies in place, as systems come online, they can be audited and evaluated immediately and automatically to ensure that they meet those specific hardening standards. So it really reduces a lot of resource fatigue for your organization. And then another key aspect, as it's across this environment, as you're making policy, as you're putting policy controls in place, as you're reviewing compliance, as you're trying to protect those specific VMs within your environment, your PaaS environment, Microsoft does pull from their threat intelligence graph. The threat intelligence graph really is key. It's key for Security Center. It's also key for Azure Sentinel, which I'll speak to in just a few minutes. But the threat intelligence graph really is gathering information across the Microsoft ecosystem at large. So it's taking information from workstations, from servers, from all the different aspects of Microsoft's entire environment, processing that information, correlating that information so that you get visibility quickly, an understanding of trends, of events that are happening as zero-day exploits are happening across the world. Those events are being gathered and accumulated and evaluated and assessed, and they provide that information to you as a basis to understand on a continual basis. You can quickly evaluate whether or not your systems are vulnerable and exposed to risk. So it's a key aspect and a key feature for your organization. One of the areas that we see customers struggling with most is typically application controls in an environment. So applications are always finicky. They're difficult to manage. They're difficult to get right out of the chute. There's a lot of aspects that can introduce vulnerabilities to your organization, to your environment, to your customers specifically with applications. I've spent a lot of time, as I mentioned, testing applications. We've seen a variety of things that pop up over and over again. Some of those some of the controls are being managed more effectively now just because of awareness and understanding. But applications are just difficult. Most customers, or many customers, still have applications that live on-prem, live in their own data centers. If you're, some customers still provide those applications publicly to the internet, and they don't live in DMZs. They're not segmented from the rest of their network. There are issues that plague many of the web apps that we see around authentication and access, bypassing authentication. They're not properly configured such to disallow injection type attacks. Once you get into the application, it's oftentimes possible to jump from one user to the next, to extract information from a backend database, to fuzz the application, which means you're just throwing a bunch of information at it to see how it responds to errors. But there's typically a wealth of information that you can gather just by doing some basic attacks on the well-known application development platforms that are available. What we want to do is we want to try to provide you with a way to deal with the things that can be fixed quickly and easily, the things that are difficult to manage on an ongoing basis across your applications. Azure does provide those tools. So it provides it both for applications and workloads that live on IaaS, live in an IaaS environment, so live specifically on your servers. But additionally, it provides those same types of tools and protection for applications that are developed in cloud-native environments, so PaaS environments specifically. One of the biggest concerns we hear from customers is they're worried about sending their applications or workloads to a cloud infrastructure because they're unsure if it's going to be safe and secure from other customer environments, from other customers, from even the cloud hosting provider. Microsoft does provide segmentation and secure access only to you and those in your organization. That is completely separate from other customers and their environments. As an auditor, we have to come in and assess those environments. So I can tell you from evaluation personally, from our team's evaluation, from published evaluation, the cloud environment is secure and it is segmented from other customer environments. So that's kind of a basic 101, but some customers still ask that question, want to know, how is my environment going to be secure from other customer data? VMs specifically are regularly updated, so you're provided with information that will allow you to quickly see whether or not your application is vulnerable to specific, to well-known vulnerabilities, if it needs to be patched, if there are specific aspects of the application that will allow someone to take advantage of it. Some other basic features that we still see from time to time, but it's important to note that you get protection in these areas, are communication secrets. So communication of secrets would be tokens, for instance, that are used for authentication, passwords, secrets that are used for authentication. All of those are by default encrypted across your applications that are built within Azure. Connections to remote management tools. We still see a lot of businesses trying to manage and access their applications through unsecured protocols and unsecured applications. That by default is taken care of within Azure. And then 24/7 threat management. So constantly evaluating the applications and the workloads that live within Azure to ensure that you're protected against things like denial of service attacks, DDoS attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks. Really, that's an area where a lot of attackers focus. They want to spend time getting in between the traffic of the browser and the web application and manipulate that traffic such that they can get information that you wouldn't normally get. So you get these kind of ongoing threats and this type of ongoing visibility and protection through Azure Application Services. Additional security features that we want to point out and we think are significant. Really a lot of customers still struggle with ensuring that their application is using secure protocols, so HTTPS specifically, TLS 1.2. ensuring that your certificates are up to date. So features within Azure make it easy for you to issue certificates, whether that be third-party certificates, certificates that are issued through Azure, ensuring that the application by default uses HTTPS to redirect traffic, that you're not exposing information over port 80. I know that many of you have seen many websites that are calling that out now and simply are just won't let you go or warning you when you're going to a website that's not encrypted. Ensuring that we're removing insecure protocols altogether, so things like FTP, TLS 1.0, things that will tend to cause you to break compliance if you have regulatory frameworks you have to adhere to. Static IP restrictions, so Azure Security Center, or Azure specifically, allows you to restrict the types of systems that are able to access your application. So if you have a need to restrict only specific organizations, businesses, other customers from accessing it, you can place restrictions on that as well. Client authentication authorization, really B2B type access that is required, or B2C type access that your business requires. That type of authentication is built in. It relies on Azure Active Directory on the back end. And so we have a lot of experience. Our organization has a lot of experience that can help you ensure that that's configured properly and appropriately for the organization, depending on what you're doing. And really, try to help you such that you don't have to continue to purchase other third-party solutions to augment and supplement that. A lot of that is built in by default within Azure. And then some additional areas, so service-to-service authentication, so authentication through APIs, authentication to back-end services from front-end applications. It's always secured, remote resources, which we spoke to, application secrets, and network isolation is a key aspect that we always want to spend time on. We want to ensure that sensitive applications are segmented, are secured in their own DMZ. A lot of customers that we work with do spend time and want to ensure that they have a web application firewall. We would encourage you to do that, but where Azure provides additional help is in the ongoing monitoring. There are just things that an application firewall won't protect your application with, and so there are a lot of features. So I know I've gone through a lot, and I've talked a lot about the features but within Security Center and web application specifically, but there's a lot here, and there's a lot to dig into and drill into. So our teams can help you understand what this means if you want to move workloads out to the cloud. We can work with you in specific areas. We can ensure that you have support, that you have awareness, and that you're able to take advantage of all these security tools that are available right off the bat when you begin to move. And our goal is to make it easier for your organization to be productive. That's the ultimate goal. We want to ensure that you're not spending a lot of time and resources doing things that can be automated and that really should be automated for most businesses. So I'm going to skip through this slide and really get to really the next portion of the talk I want to spend some time on. So Azure Security Center does a great job of ensuring you have visibility across your cloud infrastructure, across specific on-prem resources that are tied into Azure that can be monitored with Azure, but most organizations really need to extend that. You need to have visibility, and you need to have ensure that you're able to investigate incidents across a wider array of solutions that you have. So you may have third-party solutions. You may have IoT type devices across your environment. You may be dispersed into a multi-cloud environment. AWS, Google Cloud. You may have data scattered across various parts of your infrastructure. Where does it live? What systems does it live on? So really, to extend the visibility that you have with Security Center, Microsoft has provided Azure Sentinel. So Azure Sentinel is the first cloud-native SIEM and SOAR solution. So security event and information management or incident management, and SOAR, security orchestration, automation, and response solution. So it's really a two-part tool. One, it collects information across your organization, provides you with alerts, and allows you to investigate incidents. The second part of and also provides threat hunting capability as well. The second part of that is ensuring that you have automation so you can quickly remediate and take care of incidents as they happen across your business. Insight went through an evaluation really a couple of years ago as Azure Sentinel came out, and really there are a lot of really good SIEM solutions that are available. I'm sure most of you have some SIEM solution that you're using in one way, shape, or form. You may be using a third-party service to manage that for you. But really the three ways that we see this played out practically is you have your traditional SIEM solutions that collect log information, monitoring, alerting. It's based on, oftentimes we see that it lives within a business inside their on-prem or data center infrastructure. You have the cost of that back-end infrastructure. You have the cost of the licensing, the virtualization, the OS licensing. You have the cost of SOC operations, so the actual operations of responding to incidents and events, and you have the back-end infrastructure cost. When you factor in all of that, it does get, when you factor in not just the cost of the actual tools and the solutions, but also the operations for that, it can be costly for organizations to manage this. What we find is that a lot of organizations that do this don't do it well, and this is really from, our customers are telling us day in and day out, we have a SIEM, we try to manage it ourselves, it's something that we can't do well, we need help with it. Can you help us manage it? Can you help us manage it? Can you provide any recommendations on how we can do this more efficiently? What a lot of companies have provided is a third-party solution that will allow you to manage, that will manage this for you. Really, it's managing the infrastructure and allow you and the operations for you. Where Azure Sentinel is different is it's different because it's the first cloud-native solution. It's built or it's priced on a per gigabyte per day model. So the costing for that is transparent, and it provides some additional features that you don't get with other solutions. So it's highly scalable. It also provides you with the ability to have SOAR functionality with you in your environment, take advantage of machine learning that Microsoft has built in. One of the key benefits that most organizations can immediately take advantage of is the fact that O365 data can be brought in for free. So your logs for O365 can be ingested at no additional cost. This provides an immediate cost savings for you, your organization, but really you're going to pay for what you use. So, so when we talk about transparency of pricing, there's no licensing for it. You're basically, what you put in is what you're going to pay for across the organization or for your log ingestion. It's really a mature solution right out of the box. So really any data source that you can log currently, you can log within Azure Sentinel. It doesn't matter if it lives in a different cloud environment. It doesn't matter if it lives on-prem. If it's a Windows system, there are agents that can push logs directly to Azure Sentinel, Linux systems as well. If you have specialty solutions that, specific security solutions, firewalls, web app firewalls, whatever that may be, anything that can push syslog data to a SIEM solution now, we can capture that information and we can get it to Azure Sentinel. There are native and direct connectors that will allow, that would be, for instance, Azure Security Center that will push logs natively into Azure Sentinel. And then some solutions provide more rich functionality, API connectors to specific third-party solutions like Palo Alto, for instance. Those connectors feed into log analytics. Log analytics is where the data is stored, and Azure Sentinel is built on top of that. The machine learning is a key aspect, and I definitely want to make sure I touch on this. Really, where you can take advantage of the machine learning is if you're an E5 customer, if you have some of the aspects of E5 already across your environment. So advanced threat protection capabilities with Defender ATP, Office ATP, Azure ATP if you're using that, Cloud App Security, where those solutions are being taken advantage of, information can be correlated and collected and evaluated in a way that that's unlike anything we've seen. So the machine learning provides instant visibility. It allows you to weed out false positives and allows your resources to get to the important information quicker. This is one of the key reasons Insight recommends this specific solution. This is one of the key reasons why Insight actually developed our managed security operations center that we provide our customers as well. So we built our solution on Azure Sentinel, and we are offering on Azure Sentinel based off of this. It's a key characteristic that we can reduce time, we can provide more meaningful alerts to our customers. investigation of alerts. So I also want to touch on this. I won't spend a ton of time on this, but really know that for SOC operators and analysts, being able to visualize alerts as they're happening in real time, as an attacker's moving laterally across systems, the information that you can gather visually, you can quickly track down where someone's going, whether it's on-prem or within your cloud environment, the specific device where they started from, what user ID they're using to propagate across the network. It really is unlike anything that we've seen in solutions that are available. And then finally, logic apps to provide automation. So as I mentioned, Azure Sentinel is a source solution as well. That solution does provide you the ability to use logic apps to create playbooks. Those playbooks really are intended to provide automation to deal with alerts and remediate incidents in a more efficient manner, such that your users, once they're utilized and put into effect, your users aren't constantly responding to level 1 type of alerts. But once those are defined and understood, they can be put in place, and it really reduces the alert fatigue and the response times as well across your organization. So I know we're coming up towards my time limit, so I do want to note that Insight can help you in a number of different ways to understand the solutions, specifically Azure Sentinel. If you currently have the SIEM solution and you're happy with it, great. There may be an opportunity for you to take advantage of this in an augmented fashion. So a lot of customers don't want to incur egress charges if they're in Azure specifically. It doesn't make sense to take those logs from the cloud environment back on-prem. It doesn't make sense for a number of reasons, not just from a cost standpoint, but from an operational standpoint as well. So in many cases, customers will want to augment what they're doing on-prem with a cloud solution like Azure Sentinel. If you're having difficulty, like most of our customers, and you want to understand how this might be able to help replace your existing SIEM solution, we can help with that as well. And we do that in a couple of different ways. We can help you if you're looking to manage this environment on your own. If you want us to help you set up this environment in your own tenant, make the connections to that, ensure that you have the appropriate queries deployed and workbooks deployed for visualization, playbooks deployed for automation. We have a defined process that can help you do that. And then if you really want to offload that to a third party to manage that, we do that as well, and we can explain what that looks like in more detail at the appropriate time. So I know I'm out of time, so I do want to go ahead and wrap up and just note that we have resources available. Our team has actually written a book on Azure Sentinel, really the first book that details how to use Azure Sentinel. That was written by a couple of our team members. We've done a number of deployments, and we're managing this environment for a number of customers who want to help you understand what that looks like if that's of interest to you. And so we can send you these links and a lot of this information here as well.